All right, guys, welcome back to the Magic Table. I'm Steven, your host. I'm here with James King. James, thanks so much for coming out, bud.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you every time you're here.
I love coming to the Magic
Sean
Table.
is running the mics and the sound. Occasionally, we'll be like, "Hey, Sean, how you doing, bro? How you doing, buddy? Doing okay?" Anyway, so today we're gonna be just assessing our commanders, man. So, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I got to say, now that our group is kind of moving a little bit more to the commander side, it adds a lot of different dynamics, variables to the game. I'm having a rough time like putting together commanders, and I have a lot of like cool ideas, and I'm like, how do you go about it? You can only get one of each type of card, and you have to have 100 now. I don't know. I'm working on a quirky one. I don't know if you've heard of Zedru.
Oh yeah, Zedru. Zedru's hard. We'll talk about it. Let's assess our commanders then. Let's talk about assessing a commander. First, let's talk about what even makes a good commander. Typically, in my opinion, it's either going to come down to utility, what kind of things on the board it can take care of, or the card advantage. What kind of card advantage? And I have a couple criteria that I look to have a commander fulfill. One of them is card advantage, either denying your opponent's resources or drawing your own cards. Utility, destroying artifacts, enchantments, creatures that you can pick that problem child thing, whatever it is on the board, you can get rid of it off the board. Right. Then there's sheer combat power, like you know what I mean whenever I say a Voltron creature. It's whenever you like
land.
No. Like Voltroning is like basically where you stack a bunch of like really great auras onto one creature.
Okay.
Or you stack a bunch of equipment or things like that. That's just a really strong combat power commander.
Ultron.
Yeah, you're gonna be like there's a subset of rules where if you deal 20 points of damage with your commander, that player dies. It's not the traditional 40.
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't been playing that. I'm sad to say we haven't been playing that, but it's a lot harder to keep track of the commander damage. Anyway, another criteria is ramp. Just like I'm going to put more lands into play. Okay. And then the last criteria I look at for commanders is, can they combo kill? Can they just murder somebody out of nowhere? There are quite a few that have built-in combos into the card itself. But it's not something that I usually look for. I don't look for the infinite combos in this format. It really takes the fun out of the game.
I was going to ask, like you were talking about the Locust God the other day and having the commander deck for it. I was like, have you thought about putting in the infinite combo? Because there's definitely a few different options that you can put together to end up making that.
Well, the infinite combo, it really disheartens other people. Like, I feel like maybe not so much that it disheartens people to where they won't want to play you again, but you don't want to win that way consistently. If you're very consistent with your infinite combo, people are going to stop playing that deck. Oh, you're playing that? No, I'm not playing you anymore.
That is true.
So you just have to be aware of that.
That without infinite combos.
Right.
Just like
true.
The stupid control decks,
Yeah. Which we'll talk about stupid control here in a minute. All right. So so typically the more roles a commander can fill, the better that commander is. Right. Except for card advantage. Card advantage is king.
Takes priority.
Yeah, like over the last 2 years, 14 of the top 20 commanders in EDH or commander has offered some kind of direct card advantage in some form. Like for instance,
statistic to have.
Yeah, it's just amazing. So card draw is king, and that's not to say that's similar to other formats. It's mostly, card draw is super important in other formats, but it's not as important as it is in commander. Okay, but let's say you don't want to play a commander that draws a bunch of cards. Let's say something with utility instead. One of the cards that I like to look at is Zakama. Zakama's gotten really expensive recently. She's a $40 card. But if you're spending $40 on your commander and then the rest of it's kind of like budget, you can do some pretty great stuff with it.
That 9-drop, though.
She's 9-drop. Yeah. But there are so many great ramp spells nowadays. Like, I don't know if you know Skyshroud Claim. It'll search your library for 2 forests. Not 2 basic forests. 2 forests.
Yeah.
So you can go get
forest, plains forest, forest.
So you can go and fix your mana and get 2 lands out of your library for 1 card, 4 mana. So Skyshroud Claim is super powerful.
Yeah.
especially for Zakama.
If you take the time to actually, or you take the money to actually buy
It's
those.
$1.50.
Okay, we're gonna have to have another conversation off camera.
Anyway, looking at Zakama, if we're gonna ignore the infinite combos with her for a moment, I believe it's a her. Do we know if it's a her?
Do they
whatever.
self-identify?
Do they self-identify? We don't know. The person in question is an answer to most of the things your opponent's doing. It for 3 mana, it'll destroy an artifact or enchantment. And oh, by the way, whenever she enters the battlefield, she just untapped all your lands. So you can destroy an artifact or enchantment for a white and 2 colors.
She untaps as a ETB.
Well, yeah, whenever she enters the battlefield, she untaps all the lands that you...
Wow, that gives a big buff, actually.
If you cast her, not if she came from the graveyard, I believe. I'll pull her up here in a minute.
Still.
But she also...
She
she has Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. Just, willy-nilly slapped on there. People, often forget that it's at the top there. But, yeah, Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. So, nice 6/6 Angel with all those disgusting abilities. It'd be a shame if I blocked it. But she can also shoot another commander for 3 damage with 1 red and 3 colors. Oh, I'm sorry. The Destroy Target Artifact Enchantment is green, by the way. But she'll kill one of the most popular commanders in the game, Thrasios, Triton Hero. He pays 4 and looks at the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it in the battlefield. If it's not a land, put it in your hand. And he's one of the most popular commanders in the game. So, and Zakama will kill it.
Can literally just snuff it
Pew!
out.
It'd be a shame if you could never play that commander
cigarette.
again.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, Zakama can't draw cards. So what do we do? I'll support my commander, specifically Zakama in this case, with excellent mana ramp that always 2-for-1s. I will never, in a green deck, I will never settle for, unless I really need color fixing, I will never settle for a 1-for-1. So, I don't like Rampant Growth because it only goes and gets 1 land. Whereas I love Cultivate and Kadama's Reach, because for 1 more mana, I get 1 into play tapped, and then I get another 1 in my hand. So my turn 4, I've got potentially 5 mana available, right? Or potentially, I have 5 mana available, potentially 6 mana available on my turn 4. So I will almost always look for those cards like Sky Shroud Claim that goes and gets 2 lands, or Circuitous Route will go get 2 gates from my deck. Again, fixing my mana base. So I'll always look for those 2-for-1 ramp spells.
2 gates. Wow, that's strong.
Yeah. So you can go get Selesnya Guild Gate or Gruul Guild Gate, and now you have
dual lands.
You have basically dual lands. Additionally, I will start playing things like, since she can't draw, Garruk's Uprising is a enchantment that enters battlefield. If you control a creature power 4 or greater, you draw a card. When a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield, you draw a card.
Right.
And with Zakama, you're going to be playing some other big, doofy dinosaurs just because you're going to be ramping anyway, might as well, right?
Doofy, that's intimidating, yeah. Dinosaurs are back.
They're back.
Doofy.
Back again. All right. Elemental Bond is another one that draws you cards. Beast Whisperer, whenever it enters the battlefield, whenever you cast a creature spell, Beast Whisperer draws you a card. So if they counter it, you get your card draw
still
still.
Get to draw.
Yeah. So
Right.
It's a little bit finicky with some other kinds of combos. But that's what I would use. That's how I would build my commander deck then, is I put a bunch of ramp in there. I put a bunch of card draw in there so that I can support the fact that whenever she comes out, you're not dealing with an empty hand.
Okay.
Although she's great and big and everything, she can't win the game by herself typically.
Yeah, not against real competition.
So, yeah, you need other things to play. And so that's why I'm saying is you always want to play card draw and mana ramp with a commander like this. Questions, concerns, comments?
So basically, you see the strengths and the weaknesses of your commander, or at least the roles that they feel, and you're saying that you try to build the rest of your deck to do what your commander can't. To try to fill the role that it can. And either you want to go with, card advantage, or you want to go with utility.
Yeah.
And then fill the other with either your deck or your commander.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about the commanders. You have a theme throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
This is the general theme of like what my deck runs off of. Like
Yeah, and
how it
we can talk
functions.
about theme and creature types in another video.
Mhm.
Creature types are a theme unto themselves, and we can talk about that later.
I
But
like archetyping.
yeah, I mean, I love creature types, but we'll talk about that later. Another utility commander is Brea, Ethereum Shaper. She makes two 1/1 Thopters. I believe they're Thopters, and you have to pay 2 mana and sack. Deal 3 damage to target player, planeswalker, or target creature gets -4/4 until end turn, which will kill a commander. And if you can keep commanders off the battlefield, you're reducing the power level of another commander deck a lot, drastically. She has some infinite combos, but anytime she's on the battlefield, other people have to consider her an infinite threat. Like at some point, you could just drop something and just kill them out of nowhere. So that means that they have to reserve resources to respond to what you're doing, which means that they're holding back.
Okay.
So in that way, you can help stall them from like crushing you. Another way that you can use her is like cards that synergize with her because she sacrifices 2 artifacts to do her abilities. Cards like Ichor Wellspring. Ichor Wellspring, when it enters battlefield, you draw a card. If it would go to the graveyard, you draw a card. Mycosynth Wellspring, when it enters battlefield, go search your library for a basic land, put it in your hand. When it goes to graveyard, do the same thing.
Right.
So you can sacrifice these artifacts to Brea, get your cool -4/-4 ability, and then go get your land. Then go draw another card. Additionally, Skull Clamp. I'm sure you're familiar. Equipped creature gets +1/-1. When it dies, draw 2 cards. Well, say you don't have a 1/1 out there. Say you have a 2/2, and you can't get rid of it. Well, now you can spend the 2 mana on Brea, get your -4/-4 to target creature, sack your dude, draw 2 cards, and you've got value.
Right.
So that's how I would look at Brea as like, okay, how am I filling that role? Because Brea doesn't draw cards either.
Just utility, the -4.
Just utility. But she's utility plus an infinite combo.
Right.
Same with Zakama, if you're going to build those infinite combos. Anyway, so talking about all of that stuff. Tusava is another one that's only basically a card draw engine. She's a green, white, blue commander that says whenever you play your first enchantment spell for the turn, draw a card. So you're drawing 2 cards a turn, basically.
Wow.
Just for a 3-drop commander. And she gets +1/1 every time you cast an enchantment.
That's strong.
So all you do, play enchantments and beat them to death. You've got your card draw. You've got card draw as king.
So would you put in to kind of fill the role that the commander doesn't do herself, like destruction, like destroy effects, or
I would use things like Oblivion Ring, Pacifism. There's a Frogification, which is an enchantment that turns them into 1/1 frogs.
Don't get me started on the frogs.
I freaking love that. I mean, it's so good against commanders, man.
It's traumatized.
But that's what I would look at with Tusava. Tusava is a queen or king of card draw. You have to build the rest of the deck to support the fact that she doesn't have any utility. Okay.
Right.
Now, let's look at your commander that you were talking about earlier, Zedru.
It's a quirky one, man.
She's what I would call cute, or no, it's a Minotaur monk, whatever.
They didn't self-identify.
Didn't self-identify before the show. Zedru is the Great-Hearted is 1 blue, 1 white, 1 red, and 1 colorless. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain X life and draw X cards.
I'm sorry, you said that out of order. It's red, white, blue.
That's true. It's true. It is red, white, and blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain X life, draw X cards, where X is the number of permanents you own that your opponents control.
Okay.
This commander's hard.
Yeah, it's a weird one,
bro. I was like, you really chose one that was like, huh? So,
like I said, I'm also working on the Scarab God. I feel like that one's pretty easy, but I want one that's like quirky.
Well, let's talk about this
saw
one.
it.
Let's talk about this one. It says red, white, and blue. Target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. All right, she's a 2/4. What did we bring today that I just had in my bin?
Oh, you brought some interesting ones.
Share some of that interestingness with us,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah. Okay. So We're starting off with the Jinxed Idol, a 2-drop artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, Jinxed Idol deals 2 damage to you. Now, this would be one that you would have them gain control of, right? And then
that can be passed around the table.
Target opponent gains control of Jinxed Idol. So I guess my question would be, what prevents them from just putting it right back on you? And
you can, but does that say sack a land?
Sacrifice a creature.
Sacrifice a creature. You can just give it back to them without sacrificing a creature, and eventually they're going to run out of creatures.
They have to sacrifice.
So sometimes they'll just get stuck with it.
I don't know why I wasn't appreciating that. They can sacrifice this creature for themselves.
Yeah.
To do this, right? Okay, so we also have the Jinxed Choker. Is there a whole voodoo set?
There's only 3 of them. I didn't have the third one.
I was like, dude, I want all the voodoo items to go with this. This is perfect.
Yeah.
This is a 3-drop artifact. At the end of your turn, target opponent gains control of Jinxed Choker and puts a charge counter on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, Jinxed Choker deals damage to you equal to the number of charge counters on it.
So it's just floating around the table, just hurting people.
Right.
And before the end of your turn, you can just donate to somebody else.
Before you have to end up taking it. Yeah. And then you can also tap 3 as another active ability to put a charge counter on it or remove 1 from it. Oh, I didn't read that. Remove 1 from a potential. That's interesting. So, they'd have to pay mana to try to save themselves.
Yeah. One of the nice things.
Desperate and panicking.
Yeah. One of the nice things about that one is you can, with Zedru, you can donate it. Like, say they use that triggered ability to donate it to you. Mm-hmm. You can donate it back to somebody else before your upkeep.
And then I can kind of decide who's taking the damage. I know this. This just sounds quirky. Like, in my head, when I pitched Zedru to you, as an idea, something I wanted to work on, I could see what strategy I wanted to implement with it, but I couldn't think of the exact cards. I don't know the card base as intricately as you do.
Well, I was just looking at cards that I would hate to play in my own deck, but it would be awesome for other people to be stuck with. Why did they print this card? Oh, Zedru.
Right. You can have this.
Here.
I always wondered. Yeah. Let's see. You also pitched in a Crow and Horse. It's a 4-drop artifact. It's a Defender's 0/4. When it enters the battlefield, an opponent gains control of it. So how does that work? Do you
read the bottom text?
Okay. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent puts a 1/1 white soldier creature onto the battlefield.
So you have Zedru, right? You're playing the Zedru deck. You give that to somebody else at the table. Mm-hmm. You give that to me, right? Now, if we have 3 people at the table or 4 people at the table, give me the Acroan Horse. I control the Acroan Horse. And now 2 opponents. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Those are creatures. Okay. But I control the Acroan Horse, but now all of my opponents get 1/1s. So you as the Zedru player gets a 1/1 creature, and these other 2 players get a 1/1 creature.
Yeah, it's kind of a group hug.
Yeah, it's kind of group huggish. That's why you. Yeah, except for you.
It's like an exclusive group hug.
But it automatically donates itself to an opponent. So now you're going to draw your extra card and gain an extra life every turn because now you've just given that to somebody. Right. They can't go swinging with it. They have to block with it basically in order to get rid of it.
Okay. So I do have to ask, just reading this card, and I'm a little bit confused. It says when it enters the battlefield, an opponent gains control of it.
So you are going to give it to somebody
target?
Else. Yeah.
Okay. So they just didn't say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was throwing me off because I was like, well, who decides where it goes?
Well, the thing is that it kind of gets around. If you have Sahili, you have hexproof, so that will get around hexproof. It doesn't target anybody.
Oh. Wow.
So you just give it to somebody, even if they have a hexproof.
So it still gives you the perks of targeting without literally saying the word targeting. So,
yep.
Wow, I would never have guessed that. Okay, so what else did you throw in here? We got a 4-drop enchantment, aggressive mining.
Yeah.
This one I looked at and it was just wrong. You can't play lands. Now this is something that was Zedru I would be throwing on someone. Now this person, until they get rid of it, cannot play lands. Now they do have the ability to sacrifice a land and draw 2 cards once per turn, limited. But that is the ultimate. Can I say dick move on here?
Yeah, it's not fun.
Okay, that's the ultimate dick move.
Now, it is interesting. You don't probably want to target somebody who has mana ramp in their deck It's more because they can still put lands
Situational
into play
awareness.
with like cultivate, but that one land that's going into their hand, they can't now play it. They can't play lands from their hand, but they can ramp them into play. Like a cultivate, circuitous root, those can put lands into play.
Okay. Now, last one. Now this one, I feel like this is like just a little backup commander here. You know, with the way like the role it would fill. It's a 2-drop goblin 1/1. You can tap it. Target player gains control of target artifact, creature, or land you control. So if ever on the downbeat when I can't have Zedru out,
Yeah.
I got my little goblin man to like pass it around. Pass around the.
Hey, bro.
I would probably like name the deck after some terrible STD, like the worst one I can think of. Like I already got the joke in hand. Like.
Come on, man. Family friendly. But additionally, there's another great card that
It
goes
was an
in this.
acronym, children. There's a lot. You don't know what that means.
Anyway, so a lot of these great spells, it's just a really weird way of playing, and I think a lot of people appreciate the weirdness of a commander deck that is doing unique things. Zedru is one of those commanders that would do weird, unique things. Like giving Humble Defector, you're going to tap it and draw 2 cards. So 1 red, 1 colorless, 1/2, I believe, Sean, Humble Defector. Anyway, can't remember. And then once you tap it, you have to give it to somebody else at the table. Well, they just may bounce that Humble Defector around the table trying to draw cards off of it. And you, in the meantime, you're going to draw an extra card and gain an extra life because Humble Defector's floating around the table. Because he automatically gives himself away. Now, another way of looking at this commander is protecting yourself. So you're group hugging, right? I would say play a lot of stuff like Propaganda, Ghostly Prison, Sphere of Safety, making it very hard to attack
Just
you.
minimizing people.
There are creatures that do that now that are at the uncommon level. There's a legendary 4-drop, I can't remember his name, and a flying 3/2 Archon that's got protection from white. And those 2 creatures each make it cost 1 more to attack you. So you could run basically 5 cards that make it much harder for your opponents to attack you. And so
I hated doing that. People ended up hating me at the table.
yeah. Well, the bottom line is that you can build cards like this, but they're like the idols, the jinx stuff. It's not enough to kill anybody. What you have to do is build in those janky ways of winning the game.
Right.
Felidar Sovereign, I believe, is a 6-drop. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 more life, you win the game.
That's an interesting way to win.
Yeah. So if you're gaining life and you're drawing cards, eventually you're going to get your land.
How would that work in Commander?
You just everybody else loses, you win.
But if you're at the
If they want,
starting
if they
life-
want to play it out and get second place, who cares? But you won.
Huh.
Another one is called Second Sunrise.
But it's not like
Not Second
double.
Sunrise.
Because it's like double the start of normal format. It wouldn't double for Commander and be 80 health?
No.
No? Okay.
There is a 7-drop white card that says Approach of the Second Sun. It's a 1 white and 6 colorless. This is a meme way of winning. If Approach of the Second Sun was cast from your hand and you've cast another name, a spell named Approach of the Second Sun this game, you win the game. Otherwise, puts Approach of the Second Sun into its owner's library, 7th from the top, and you gain 7 life. So what Approach of the Second Sun does says, I'm going to cast this the first time. I'm not going to win the game. I'm going to gain 7 life, and then Approach of the Second Sun is going to go 7 cards deep into my library. 7th from the top. Now, with Zedru, you're going to draw cards every turn.
All right.
And then you're just going to cast it again and win. So talking about just janky ways of winning.
That's a janky way.
That's
I like
janky way of winning.
Yeah.
But you're going to buy yourself a lot of time with preventing stuff from... You're going to make people mad because they can't play lands. You're just going to pick... That's
Oh,
pretty
that
awesome.
one's wrong.
It's pretty great. It's pretty
to
fun.
just give to someone.
Yeah. But anyway, so...
Because you wouldn't normally be able to give that enchantment to another player, would you?
What?
That
Aggressive
like, you can't play lands?
Yeah, you can. You have to play Zedru, basically.
To get it on
to get it
someone
on
else.
somebody else. Another thing you can do is cards that double... Sorry, not cards that double. Cards that are global to begin with. You can donate those to other people. Like, so for instance, one of the ones that is Dictate of Krufix this says each player draws a card at the beginning of their upkeep, right? What you're doing by donating it to somebody else is they're going to get to draw a card. They're not going to get any extra cards, but it's going to trigger Zedru to draw you another card because it says a card you own but somebody else controls. You can donate to this to somebody, but since it's global, it's already going to give you the extra card whether you control it or not.
So you get another card on top.
Then you get another card on top
from
of it.
everybody else. Okay.
Or Howling Mine. Howling Mine's another one that draws everybody a card at the beginning of their upkeep. Just give it to somebody. It doesn't matter. It's a 2-drop.
So you're saying, sprinkle in a little bit of extra card advantage, and then there's quite a few utility cards. And the
global effects are so stupid.
And, everyone loves a little group hug every now and then,
Yeah. So it's like a weird, off the beaten path kind of group hug deck.
Yeah. Yeah. Exclusive group hug,
I want you to be in my group, but not you.
Yeah. And you over there, you can come as well.
Anyway.
Just not you.
So, dude, what other deck you been looking at, man?
Well, right now I am working. I was literally just in the other room working on putting together this Scarab God Commander deck.
He's so good.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many things I can do with it that I'm kind of like I just have a bunch of cards laid out, and I'm like, I don't know which way I want to go. So I'm probably gonna spend the next few gathering sessions
figuring it out.
Testing. Okay, how well does this work outside of my theory crafting?
Yeah.
How well does it actually apply?
Usually in theory crafting,
resistance.
In theory crafting, the thing that hangs you up is mana costs. It's usually mana costs where you're trying to do. Not to get off this tangent too far, but the mana cost where you're trying to do two things at once is where you'll really find the hang up. So if you've got a thing that costs 2 and it does the effect you want, and this other card that really does something gross, but it costs 5, if you can't do those things in the same turn, a lot of times, that'll eliminate that really gross thing. Unless you have some way of cheating or, getting it to go happen. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming out to the Magic Table. Sean, thank you so much for being our sound guy. Daniel, our production. Thank you, James, for coming out, brother. I appreciate it. All right, guys, you guys have a great one. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And as always, we love you. Deuces.